Hi, everyone. This is Tatiana Dudiez. Welcome to Thrive and Shine. This is a podcast about soul leadership, about authentic power and living a conscious life and embodying all these principles in your life in a way that models exactly what you want to change in this world. And today we have Lisa Berkovitz, who is a friend of mine and a beautiful soul-aligned leadership coach. And please help me join this show, Lisa, and help all of you help me. I can't talk. Welcome, Lisa Berkowitz, to our show. Thank you. And Lisa is joining us by Zoom, through Zoom from Toronto. I am so envious of you, as we were just joking. Not
the cold of the winter.
The cold, exactly. Not that there is anything wrong with Toronto, because I've lived there and I loved it. And it's just a little cold compared to gorgeous California, where we met. We met at this beautiful conscious leadership conference in LA. And we decided to chat. And I don't know, like an hour and a half, 2 hours later, we were still chatting. And we're like, where is everybody? Oh, I guess they're gone. I don't know where, and we were like, okay, I think we need to maybe leave this space where we were. And it was so much fun. Like, we just really connected on a deep level. So welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today, Lisa.
Thank you. What a pleasure to be here. I'm very grateful to have met that day and to be here with you now.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, Lisa, you are a soul-aligned leadership coach. Tell us what that means.
Yeah, well, what lights me up is seeing people do what they were born to do. So for me, that's really what soul alignment is. It's actually taking what you were naturally born to do, what lights you up, what brings you joy, what really feeds your soul. For me, work is meant to be play. And so I love, that's why leadership for me, when I say soul aligned leadership, it's really about being true to that, which is easy for you, fun for you, alive for you. I see a world where work is indistinguishable from play. And that for me is a hallmark of the soul being expressed in the world. So I believe we're meant to thrive at that. So I'd love to support more of that in the world.
And that's what we witnessed, right? When we were chatting together, is that we connected on this soul level, and we were so lit up. We were so engaged and unaware of time. And I love that that feeling when I lose track of time, whether it's through doing something that I love or being with someone I love. It's just so juicy and yummy, because it's like all of a sudden you pop back into reality, and you realize that I don't know if it's a sense that you've lost time, or you've lost the sense of what you think time is. And you realize that you've just engaged in this space where time as you know it no longer matters.
100%. And that is, it's another hallmark of the soul. It's like going into that place of no time or eternal time, or soul has no age or, sense of time. I feel like we knew each other before this life, and we're meeting, so we meet at the soul level. We go into that space of no time, that eternal space where we recognize each other at a whole other level.
So what I love about what you do, which I share a lot in my work as well, is that you bring this alignment, or this understanding of alignment, to the corporate world, right? And so how can you describe this to someone in the corporate world when you're freshly introduced to this person in the corporate world, which is of course a world of linear thinking and not as creative and innovative and expansive as the discussion of soul alignment. So how do you get people to understand what those principles are, and do you experience resistance?
It's a great question. I would say, generally speaking, I'm working with companies that have a sense of progressiveness and consciousness to them already.
Right.
So the CEOs that I work with have as a priority to be in alignment, with their own blueprint, to be in alignment with their purpose. So, but still there's a way to translate it. Whether you use soul language or not is really not the point. I don't care about the language. I care about the results. And so in terms of how I talk about it with my clients, for example, I have two CEO clients who both, their stated intention is they wanted to be more embodied with their own soul. They wanted more of their soul expressed through what they were doing and being in alignment with their role as leaders. And in the work we are doing, for example, inside one of these CEOs' companies, we're talking about clarity of purpose. How clear is she as the leader in her purpose? How clear is she on her vision? How well is that purpose and vision being communicated to her people? And how are we giving her people a chance to connect with that purpose and that vision in a way that's meaningful for them? So we're closing that gap and allowing more of the people that are part of the company there's like potential sitting there that we start to unlock as these discussions, these communications around purpose, around clarity, around alignment, around vision, what they're doing, why they're doing it, how they're doing it. We bridge any gap there might be. So meaning, purpose, values, all of these are regular terms, which for me are the realm of the soul.
Right. And so how do you, because it's in fact, it's one thing for a leader to be aligned with his or her purpose, his or her why. It's another to create that alignment on the outside of them, between them and their team when we're talking about the corporate world. So what are the tools that you suggest for these leaders are necessary and vital so that they are able to, one, communicate their purpose in a language that the team can receive, perhaps also how this team can feel their purpose. What are the tools? I'm curious about how you actually make this happen for that leader and her or his team.
Yeah. So it really starts with their own individual clarity. So the leader has to be clear first in whatever terms, right? That's true for them. But then they know their own organization. So we go from the leader to the senior team. So we're speaking in terms of what is the understanding? What is the common understanding of the vision, of the purpose? We're receiving the voices of the people around the leader at the senior level. So they're all on the same team.
Right.
And depending on what their priorities are, depending on what perhaps for a division of the company or a department in the company, whatever part of the company is being led by each senior leader, they each know. So it's somewhat customized, but it's very simple. It's clarity. It's truly being connected to the why, to the purpose, and to the priorities that are being identified at the senior level. And then being able to bring it, even sometimes it's just a simple communication. Sometimes it's an innovation circle. Sometimes it's like within a department, even just having everybody hear what the vision is, what the purpose is, what the mission is, having that communicated, and just having feedback from everybody. Having and in some companies we use meditation is actually a tool that we use. So actually going into a place where we can go into a space where new ideas can come out, where we're guided to connect with what's meaningful about a particular whether it's the purpose of the company or whether it's a priority for that department, where they actually can go in and share. Each person can share the vision that they have, how it connects to the bigger vision. So it really depends on the company, but clarity, purpose, clear why, clear values, communication.
And so what do you experience is your number one, or the number one observation you can make that most people have in these companies that prevent them from connecting the dots between that leader and that team? Is it to create that alignment? Is it a lack of communication, proper communication, or what is it?
A couple of things come immediately to mind. One is that the leader really has to be in their alignment, and that's why we always start at the top. Because if that leader is not deeply connected to their own soul alignment, their own mission, their own purpose, where they see the company going, what is the soul of the company? What does the company want? The company is at a certain stage in its evolution. It has a soul. It has a purpose on the planet. So unless we are in that level of dialogue with the leadership and they have their clarities, that's one thing, is that has to be clear. But then the other thing is, has it been communicated? To what degree has it been communicated? How has it been communicated? It's often just a matter sometimes of sharing it and then requesting feedback, requesting input, requesting engagement. Different leaders have different approaches to that.
So what prevents those leaders, besides the clarity, besides having that clear identification of what their purpose is, and of course, once they are aligned with their own soul and purpose and why, what prevents them from engaging their team? Is it and of course we've got communication, that's huge. Is there also a level of vulnerability that these leaders are having a hard time accessing, so that they really share their heart? Because I mean, you know, creating such alignment on the outside with that team requires one to share their soul and to share their heart, which means it takes courage, it takes vulnerability, it takes that daring intention to step outside of our realm of comfort and go all out, right? And possibly say something that some of these people might not connect to, and not really looking for that validation, but looking simply to share their heart and soul.
Yes. Yeah, you're 100% right. So there's a lot of conditioning that comes around leadership. How we should be as a leader, how we should be perceived. That puts a lot of pressure. And there's a lot of momentum around that. Maybe a momentum around the way things have been done. So it could be, I think you've hit the nail on the head on one major thing. Absolutely. A key thing that prevents that translation of what's going on in the inner world and the inner alignment of the leader, and sharing it with people in the company. Like, well, how are they going to respond? Is it going to make me look like less of a leader? Like, the vulnerability is tough, right? We've sort of have this idea of what leadership is, and you've nailed it.
Especially if I can see how, you know, as I've experienced that in my previous company, where I reached a different level in my own alignment, and then I was no longer the leader after 15 years that I had been at the beginning. So I had to not only come to terms with that for myself, but also I needed to then share that different level and that new me, or that new me and that type of leadership. And I remember feeling, I don't know if it's shy, but I was hesitating as to how much can I actually share of myself? How much can I actually let them see who I am today? And so at that point, a whole bunch of questions come up, right? So, am I still in the right place, or are they still in the right place, or what's going to happen? I mean, there's a whole bunch of questions we start exploring secretly in our heads, and that doesn't really help, because of course, you know, whatever is kept there in our heads is not really making progress, let's say. So
Yeah.
how do you often see that as well? If you've worked with a leader and you've gotten that person, that leader to this particular level, and then what, what are the fears they're encountering now that they've reached this new level of alignment and then need to share their why and their purpose?
Yeah. And I think one of the common things is just this question mark around this changing definition of what leadership is. This changing, like, is it really leadership for me to show my passion, for me to show the journey that I've been on, perhaps with this particular business issue, to show there's this this translation point, because they're changing as an identity. This is what I see in this soul work is, like, we have this human self, this way that we've navigated through life as a human, and then we have the soul starting to come in more and more and more, leading, and these two have to integrate in the individual, and so then it starts to happen, translates over in the role as the leader as well. So this integration between the old definition of leadership into the new definition of leadership, this fear of being seen, this fear of doing it wrong, all the old fears, right? A lot of high performers are, are used to doing things well, used to being in control, used to, so there's a loss of control with this, with this shift in identity, with this shift in revealing more. So it's this fundamental, it's an identity shift. I think that's what I want to say, both in personal level and on the leadership level, is big,
for sure. And I love the fact that, this leadership is shifting. The definition of leadership is shifting today, and we are helping these leaders reveal more of themselves. In the process of doing that, they need to unlayer and they need to take off the masks in order to get to their own truth, to their own soul and heart. So they get to see who they want to be as leaders, and also what they want to model to their teams, their and everyone around them. And I'm so grateful that finally, this model of leadership is emerging, and we are grabbing it and helping it emerge even more. How do you feel that companies, corporations, the business world out there is welcoming this type of new leadership? Do you find it more and more popular? I don't like the word popular, but you know what I mean, a little bit more welcomed, or is it still a bit of a struggle to bring in this type of new definition of leadership?
Again, I would say I'm primarily working with companies that are very receptive, because the leaders are very receptive.
Right.
So
that's the key.
That's the key. That's why I choose to work there, because that's the leading edge for me. And I feel that in proving that it works, that there is a direct correlation between inner alignment and outer results. That's where we start to see other people coming online. That's where we start to see the shift in other companies that are maybe not quite at that fullest, willingness to go to that edge. We start with the ones that are at that edge. And for the ones that are at that edge, and the leaders that are willing to do that deep work, what I see is just the willingness to be vulnerable and speak from that place inside their companies. The reception is huge. The reception is incredible. They're so well received, and it's a quick feedback loop.
Very nice. So what brought you to this? What is your path that has enabled you to get to this work? Because you are also a corporate refugee, I know. You were working with Fortune 500 companies. Tell us a little bit about what brought you here, and what in your personal life were the shifting moments and themes for you to want to dedicate your energy and your life to this teaching.
Well, it was, like most people, or many people, when they share about their journey in this kind of thing, it was just born out of my own personal experience and my own need to change. So I was in corporate. I did high-level project management for large multinational companies. I worked at the World Economic Forum annual meeting for 10 years, working with coordinating for the leaders there on their core team. So I had a lot of exposure to large companies and lots of leaders and the way business was done, and kind of knew what my path would be if I continued on that road. But I went on a retreat, actually. I was very much into personal development for years, originally because of Tony Robbins.
We've got that in common.
We've got that in common. Back in the day, thank you, Tony. Back in the day when he was on infomercials, and I heard him say, "The quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your life," and something activated in me. So I started to realize, oh my goodness, there's more going on here than meets the eye, and started to study personal development. Then I had my heart broken and ended up on my spiritual path, because that was the only way to heal my heart. Through a relationship that broke up. And on my spiritual path, I ended up on a retreat in the rainforest in Costa Rica. And I was there for a week. And during that week, I had this, just literally, it came as a vision. I saw myself traveling the world, speaking and teaching and really contributing to human potential. I didn't exactly know what that meant, but I actually just quit my job. Like within 2 months, I was out of my job without seeing it coming. I wasn't really contemplating leaving, but I had noticed that my passion for personal development and spiritual growth had kind of started to take more and more of my interest and time. I was like, oh, my job's getting in the way of what I really want to be doing now. So I left, and I spent a year. I did my master level certification in NLP. I became a Reiki master. I started doing lots of yoga and dance, and I really followed all my passions. And I was learning, and I was growing. And through that, I started to really understand. I was self-funded, doing all these incredible things that I love to do. I was opening my right brain again, and I've been so left-brained in corporate. And you speak in terms of masculine and feminine energy. I was so in my masculine in the corporate world. And when I left, I was opening up all these beautiful feminine energy aspects of me. And in that process came the question, okay, wait, let me back up. When I was in corporate, I was paid well to do a good job. I did a great job. When I left, I was self-funded, doing all my passions, all the things that I really wanted to be doing all day, every day. And I was constantly coaching people, even though I didn't have a coaching practice yet at that time. I was constantly contributing to people and encouraging them and helping them get clear on things. And so ultimately, I came to this question: how do I get paid to do what I love? How do I get paid to do what I would be doing anyway? And that question, which was a burning question for me, because it was unfathomable to go back into a job. I was only going forward. But I didn't want to compromise I just wanted to do what I loved, and I wanted to be doing well. So basically, I ended up first freelancing to corporate, and I worked in a lot of training, corporate training, sales training, other kinds of training. And I worked from home. And that was one big step in the direction of my dream, because I had a lot of flexibility and free time. And I was working with one of my main clients was a great client who I loved working with. And over time, and I did some executive coaching there in that role as well. And eventually, it's a long story, many ins and outs, but eventually became an independent coach that was just with my own practice. And that allowed me to be anywhere I wanted to be in the world, because I love to travel. And that was my first big step towards fulfilling this dream. How do I get paid to do what I love? And what I would be doing anyway, because I'm always coaching people. I'm always wanting people to be more in alignment with what they love. I'm always wanting to be out in the world and meeting wonderful people and going to live events. And that's what I do. So, and there are many.
It's who you are. It's
who I am.
What you do. It's who you are.
Who I am. So it was very much an organic unfolding. It took effort and a lot of unlearning of who I used to be, my own identity shifting, unlearning.
That takes time too.
Takes time,
right?
Yeah. But that's the journey. Like, that's how we teach what we most need to learn.
Absolutely.
So really, me asking the question, how do I get paid to do what I love? Ultimately, when I'm doing soul alignment work, I'm really helping leaders to do more of what they love, truly what's
Absolutely.
fun and playful. And there's so much that can be let go. And it seems perhaps like it's not that easy, but actually it is. Like, there are things that can be let go, things that don't need to be done anymore. Usually leaders have, the leaders that I'm working with have some, at a point where something new wants to come through them, or they've hit some kind of upper limit, or there's some newness that's wanting to make its way through. And it seems like some of the things that take up all their time and energy are blocking that. And it's actually not as hard as it seems. Sometimes it's just a matter of permission. Like, you can actually have it exactly the way you want it. And actually that means you're on purpose. You're more on purpose than sustaining some of these old things that can be released.
And of course, we keep talking about conditioning, at least on this show, we talk about it. I talk about it constantly, because when I did my own unlayering, unmasking, and unlearning, I realized to what extent I had been brainwashed by conditioning. And somewhere inside my heart was bubbling sometimes this want, or this wanting to do only what I want to do, or how I want to do it. But then judgment was coming in, from ego and from conditioning. And it was like, all I could hear was, no, you can't, or no, you shouldn't, or no, that's not done this way, or no, what are they going to think of you? Or, well, Tatiana, nobody's talked about this before, so surely you shouldn't. It was limitless.
Right.
And to give yourself permission to come through as your heart tells you to, and as your soul tells you to, sounds so freaking simple. And yet it is the most difficult process ever, because even if we are pretty soul-centered and heart-based as leaders teaching others to do this, we still have from time to time this conditioning that comes in, right? I mean, or need for the exterior to validate whatever we're thinking or coming up with, and it's only through our own going, what the hell are you thinking? Like, shh, no, right? So it's crazy how this conditioning is permeating our lives.
Absolutely. And that's a lot of what drives my passion, because that conditioning, I mean, there's just right off the top, two buckets, two main kinds of conditioning. One is don't leave the tribe. One is don't do things differently than anyone else does them. Right? Because back in the day when we lived among saber-toothed tigers, if you were cast out of the tribe or somehow left the tribe, you were dead, right? So we have that in our very DNA, that it's dangerous to go against the norm, to go against the way things are done. And the other is really around the Puritan work ethic that says we have to work hard and prove ourselves if we're going to be worth anything. And that is so counter to what I know to be true in terms of our soul work. Our souls are designed such that what we're meant to bring is fun and easy. Not that there is not effort, not that there aren't times that we have to move through times of effort. It's not that, but a lot of that is burning away of conditioning, by the way. That's actually not, that's a whole other thing. But actually it can be invisible to step more fully into alignment with the soul and the bringing forward of soul gifts, because they are truly like, oh, that's just like, we think it's like breathing. We think that everybody can do it, and we can't. That's not true. We can, and it's not easy for everybody. And it becomes this blind spot that it actually can be that simple. I always say soul is simple, and the conditioning is so heavy. You have to work hard if it's worth it. If you're not working hard, it's something's wrong, right?
Yes.
Meanwhile, the you know, in the realm of the soul, it's like if it's not fun, there's something off. You know, if it's not alive, if it's not energizing you, if you're coming to the end of the day exhausted versus coming to the end of the day enlivened, you know where you're at with
lit up with what you just did during the day, and you didn't see
yeah,
the time go by, and you can't wait to get home and share with your partner or share with your family, or
yeah,
and you're more alive at the end of the day, that you are drained and exhausted and feeling like you need to grind your way through another evening of whatever you need to do and hustle the next day, one more day before the weekend when you can finally take a break. What a life.
right?
Right? I mean, and we've tasted it, because of course we wouldn't be doing this if we hadn't tasted it, but it certainly doesn't work, and it brings disease, dis-ease. It brings our soul down, it brings our joy down, it brings everything down. I mean, it's painful.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. And it's wonderful to see that lid being taken off, or the cap on that being taken off. But it does take effort, it takes work, it does take unraveling of assumptions that have been made and conclusions that have been come to, often very early in life. Where, you know, many people have some are more challenging than others, but it's not easy growing up on planet Earth.
No.
Right?
And you're right. I mean, we need to mention that this work is deep, and it's sometimes very painful, because it's facing your own truth, facing your own demons, facing your fears, facing your own vulnerability and your resistance to showing the world, and showing yourself, but showing the world who you really, really, really are. Yeah. And so it takes commitment, and it takes, I think the most, for me, in my opinion anyways, personally, and I'd love to hear yours, for me, I think that commitment to staying in alignment, no matter what, is likely to be the most challenging, because it means to me that no matter what's happening, whether I'm sad, angry, scared, or joyful, or whatever the range of that spectrum of experiences in my life, I need to come back to my alignment, to what my soul desires, what my heart desires, and it's deep work to stay that aligned. It's just a lot of time and commitment and awareness whenever we're off alignment, because it happens all the time. It's easy to be out of alignment, right? I mean, anything can happen, take us out of alignment if we're not deeply grounded.
Yeah.
And so that alignment with joy, with my joy, and my belief in magic, because I believe in magic. I believe that there is magic everywhere. I believe there's magic in us. I believe there's magic in the little dog who wants my attention right now. I believe there is magic everywhere. And so here is a little magical being.
Hello.
Part of my life. And she's welcome to the show.
Yes. Hello. Yes.
This is Cleo. So there's magic in everything, and I believe in magic. But so just believing in that magic. Believe in magic. I mean, when I say that to some people, they're like, "Are you crazy? Are you demented? You what? You believe in magic?"
Yeah.
And others, they're like, "Of course I believe in magic, right?" So
yeah. You're pointing to two really important things working in reverse. It's really important who you surround yourself with.
Yep.
Really important, because if you're a person who is committed to the realm of the soul, you are committed to the realm of magic and things happening beyond the mind, really beyond what's definable, what's linear. And I like to say, if you're surrounded by muggles, for those who know Harry Potter, Harry Potter, if someone listening doesn't know, Harry Potter is a wizard. Muggles are the non-magic, the non-magic people. They don't believe in magic. So if you're surrounded by muggles, of course, it's going to be much harder to follow your joy and believe in your vision and believe in your dream. So it's really important who you surround yourself with.
Mm-hmm.
And then also what you were saying about, the deep work and the challenging work, how challenging it can be to stay true to that.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the reason that I notice is because to be able to perceive the magic and to be able to receive the guidance of the soul from that level of self requires being present.
Mm-hmm.
And being present requires feeling all the things that have perhaps been stuffed down over the course of life. Difficult things have happened to most of us. And the only coping mechanism of a young person is to hold the breath and contract and wait for it to pass. It's like the only thing a child knows to do and can do. They don't have tools.
It's like going underwater and holding your breath and blocking your nose and waiting for it to get better or pass. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of the main things, one of the mastery tools, one of the mastery skills that a leader gets to learn being more and more in soul alignment is that it's actually safe to feel those feelings. It's actually safe to be present with the sadness or the fear or, the fear of vulnerability or whatever else might be there coming to the surface. The more soul aligned we become, the more present we become, and the more present we become, the more ability we have to integrate the parts of ourselves that might not have had a chance to be seen and heard and healed. And that's, for me, such a core part of the deep work. It's sacred and it's beautiful. And it's not easy, but it's necessary.
Mm-hmm. What lights you up on a daily basis, besides, of course, seeing, your clients reach this level of alignment and people functioning in their heart and through their soul? What else lights you up as a person, as Lisa?
Yeah, as a person, I love yoga. I'm a big yogini. I love dance. I love to dance.
What kind of dance? Any type?
A lot of types. I did hip hop for many years, which was always fun. So I still go to a hip hop class every now and then. I learned a little bit of salsa. I can't say I'm really good at that, but it's fun to.
You need a partner to practice.
Yeah, you need a partner to practice.
Yeah.
And just like freestyle, like 5 rhythms or, Sweat Your Prayers, Gabrielle Roth's work, like just free form dance. Really just any kind of dance, mostly.
I know, me too.
Yeah. I love to read. I'm not a huge cook, but I love to eat. So I have a lot of pleasure just
me too.
Delicious food.
Have you ever had a time in your life when you didn't like to eat?
Nope.
As much? No?
I don't. Well, I don't know. Maybe at this stage in my life, I savor it more than ever.
Right? Yeah, me too.
Present with it because I'm more present than I've ever been. So yeah, I always loved food and eating, but yes, I guess that would be safe to say. Probably savoring it more than ever. Yeah.
And so what are your travels bringing you to next? Where you were recently in Maui, but that was just vacation, right?
Yeah. Well, I really. I work from wherever I am. So I was in Maui for 3 weeks, Maui and Kauai, but I did do some client sessions while I was there, but it was a lot of time out. I was working on my book right now.
Nice. Yay. Yes. Another book coming out.
Yes. I'm excited about that. Where am I heading next? Back to California. I'll be, in LA and in Northern California. I'll be, in Vancouver and Vancouver Island, Tofino. It looks like I'll probably be going to Phoenix. That's just in the next couple of months. So a few trips coming up in the next few months for some wonderful events. And because I love events and connecting with like-minded people and speaking as well. And beyond that, don't know yet.
So you are speaking to, when you are invited to speak, it's mainly on soul leadership?
Yeah. So where we met, like I was speaking at the Conscious Capitalism Conference in LA. I was speaking on soul aligned action, How do we know? Because the theme of that conference was actually action. And my point was, it's not action for the sake of action. How do we know if it's actually aligned action? Because there's a whole heck of a lot of busy work out there. And we don't need more busy work. We need more alignment, aligned act, inspired act. For me, aligned action is inspired action. So, so that's one of the main things that that I love to talk about. It depends on the audience and what's needed by the audience, but a lot of energy mastery. Teach a lot around energy mastery and visioning and connecting with sort of the highest level vision that we each have, and actually becoming that version of ourselves who would be able to fulfill that vision. So there's different things that I love to teach on and speak on.
And so where can people find you?
My website is the easiest place, lisaberkovitz.com, or it's also you can reach me at letsoullead.com.
Letsoullead.com. And Berkovitz is, can you spell that? It's
Lisa, Lisa, and Berkovitz is Berkov, like Victor, IT like Tom, Z for zebra.com.
Amazing. So people can basically invite you to speak and lead your amazing training events anywhere in the world. So kudos to Lisa for that and inviting us all to share your space. That's great.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And what else are you envisioning for your future? Do you have any crazy dreams that you could share with us?
Crazy dreams. I do have some crazy dreams. Actually.
Oh, good. Let's explore some.
Yes.
Can you share one with us?
Yes. Well, I actually have a crazy dream to find every single love-based business on the planet and make it easy for everyone to find those too. So businesses that are really in alignment, that are truly, clearly soul-aligned businesses. I always say, when you engage with a leader or a company or a business, whether it's a large one or a small local shop at the end of the street, you can always tell when someone's in alignment and there's passion at the center of the business. There's love at the center of the business. They're doing it for the right reason and they're thriving as a result. And those are the businesses that I'm interested in finding and showcasing on this planet. So lots of crazy plans to crowdsource finding those businesses, to interview the leaders of those businesses, to share the learnings for how to actually run a business like that, to be in alignment as a leader and to lead a company that is truly a model of where we're going with the future of work and the future of our economy.
Excellent. And so what would you do with all of these businesses? Would you create a site where they can all share and cross-pollinate? Yep. So there will certainly be books written about it, interviews with these leaders. That's one expression. But also something like a Yelp or a TripAdvisor for conscious people. So we all can share where these places are so that we can all find them more easily. Because to me, they're the only businesses worth investing dollars in, or whatever currency you're in. Amazing. I can't wait to see that. That's a great idea. I mean, it goes beyond uniting all conscious capitalists around the world. It's really giving a platform to all of them as well. Yes. That's, for me, it's like the cream rising to the top and leading the way forward. So business transforms. And this would be worldwide, right? It's not just North America, or which transcends, for now, of what I know, is most organization for conscious leadership. I think it's usually based in a country specifically, right? It's not a worldwide type of web.
Yes, and that is what I'm seeing. It is like a web. It's literally like a grid of light. You know, I think of these businesses as like little vortexes of light and love. Literally, like you walk in, you can taste the love, you can feel it, you can, you know, whatever it is that they happen to do. I recently went into a chocolate shop in Portland that I have radar for these places. It's incredible. And this woman had founded this chocolate shop. She left her corporate job, knew she had to leave. She had health issues, and she followed her passion and started a chocolate shop with all of the products that she had eaten as a child in the Middle East, chocolates and coffees and, you know,
Oh, wow.
just
How
like
amazing.
what a story. And so, you know, you could taste it. You walked in her place. It was like walking into her home, the way she welcomed everybody who came in the shop. And then those of us who were in the shop at the same time made connections. I'm going to be meeting with one of them virtually next week, I think it is, because it was such an the web of love was so strong. The web of connection was so strong. There was a visceral experience in that little shop. And to me, she's an example of the future of business. Soul aligned leadership where love is at the center of it and thriving as a byproduct. That's the way of the future.
That's why my show is called Thrive and Shine.
That's why we're here together. And so I want to connect, help people connect. If you want that kind of experience in wherever you go, in whatever category, I want to help make that easier, because those are the people I want to celebrate and showcase.
I love that. That's amazing. Well, anyway, I can support you on that level, of course. I mean, we're connected, but bring it on. Let me know how I can support you. And so thank you so much. We are pretty much done. It always goes so fast. Again, we lose track of time, how we actually started about time. And I love you. Thank you so much for being part of us today and of my life.
Likewise, I love you. Thank you. It's a privilege and a pleasure to know you and to have been here with you.
Thank you. I see you soon. Take care.
See you soon. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.